Okay, it's a normal handy video, no script, a quick introduction, and then we'll have a look at the stuff running. So the Franken rig has grown. We have the PTO2 added on the left hand side, and then I've been waiting for this to turn up, so the F16ICP has turned up. I fitted it yesterday, so I've used it once. So if you want to see how does it flip, and this is kind of important, so anyone who buys it, this is method 2. Method 1, it sits up higher, somewhere up here, and that would get in the way of my screen. So I used method 2. So it goes all the way down to sit there. So from the normal position, it does not get in the way when not in use. That's the first thing to say. Second thing to say is they say to use the bolts, put 2 bolts in to stop it wobbling, but, well, that doesn't seem to be a problem to me. There are 2 pads just here that rest against your knobs on your F18 one. So those of you who've seen this rig running in my previous videos know that using the 2, this here, I can move the whole rig up and down to kind of match the screen. So right now it's in the lower position for an F16, and when I run an F18 I bring it all the way up so it's in the middle of the screen and works correctly for the F18. So that's the advantage of it. The disadvantage is this. You can see the movement. It wobbles a little bit. Alright, even worse when you go over and use the PTO2, because the PTO2 is right at the end of the thing. So that is a little bit of a limfac. However, and when I compare it, this is the Next Level Racing Boeing that we've done the video on before. I recently did a bit of sim racing, and I bought this, which is Next Level Racing's 4080 setup with an Acertec driving rig that you can get from Micro Center dirt cheap. For what it is, it's amazing value. So, like, I mean, you have to live near a Micro Center, of course, but I do. So anyway, so this rig costs just a little bit more than this one. So I'm a bit of a fan of 4080 now because it's way more secure. If you look at this, mind you, it has to be because of the torque on the wheel. But this thing is basically the whole rig moving, and this one can actually go on a motion platform. This one can't. So anyway, that's a quick intro, and then I'll give you a quick look at how it works. Sorry about all the motion on the camera. I'll probably put a freeze photo on that so that you don't get sick. Alright, now to move into the seat and show you it running. Alright, so another attempt at this because the other video the camera was all over the place. So, starting off, weirdly I'm going to start off in the F18. Why? I'm not going to try and do a case landing. I would not even attempt. There are more than enough people that have actually done these out on there that you don't need to hear it from me. Plus, I have a tendency to fly Air Force style, which is... anyway, enough of that. But what I will do is we'll just have a look at something. And what I'm actually going to look at right now is really the PTO2 down here. So I'm just slowing down enough. Notice that these buttons here will move the view down. Oh, maybe there we go. And you can see that these are all reflected on the screen. And everything works. So this panel is this panel. And then we have the jettison panel. And then we have the wings and everything. And as we're slowing down here, oops, the gear was actually down. So we put the gear down, the light comes on, that works. Yeah, the flaps work. We can mess around with things, and all of the panel does work. Yeah. So, what don't I like about it? Well, I really don't like. Oh, escape that there because I don't want to crash while I'm messing around talking about this. So what do I like? Well, the gear handle's good enough. It's not as good as a real gear handle, right? It doesn't feel quite correct. It is plastic, and this bit's plasticky, yeah, but it works and it's good enough. These switches are almost aircraft quality. They don't feel a lot different from the ones I have at work. And then you get these, yeah, they're actually not bad at all. I quite like the push buttons on here. And then you get to the hook and the wings, and they're bloody plasticky as crap, right? They are pretty sad, it has to be said. There is a lot of overlap between here and here, all right, to be quite honest, but it's nice having a gear handle. It is nice, and it's nice being able to go to these, and if, you know, you're a big F18 guy, yeah, then I can see, especially big F18 person flat panel, you know, it's not a bad piece of equipment. One of the limiting factors of it actually is that Wing didn't bother to implement a set of standard coding for it for each aircraft. So I went online and I borrowed one off of Bonzi something or other, Phoenix Bonzi I think it was. So in order to get that thing to work, which is kind of annoying. So you should have, if you've seen my other videos, you know how all this works. It works well. You don't really have to change everything in Simac Pro all the time. You know, though my bottom screen is probably not working because it's set to F16 right now rather than F18. So if I quit this, we've seen enough of that. And then one of the things, while this is loading up, of course the limitation is you can't see, I will put up an F16, which is probably what most of you have come in here to look at. Yeah, the F16, and we'll just do a free flight video. All right, and while it's loading up, I can show you this. If I loosen this knob back here, there's two of them. I can let the whole thing shift lower, and it goes about halfway down for a 16, something like that. And you can also adjust it. I can adjust it once it's back in. So as the F16 loads up, you see the screens come up. This, as I said, is method 2. In the instruction manual for this, there are 2 methods to get this thing to flip. Method 1 leaves it sitting up more here, and method 2 leaves it sitting down where for me it's not in the way. My height is actually pretty good that I just did, because I can see when we hit fly that I can see the RWR over the top, which is kind of what you need in an F16. You don't want to be flying around without being able to view your RWR. That would be a pain in the neck. Yeah, let's bring the gear handle up. So for the PTO, what does it do? Well, not really that much, but you can set the switches to anything you like. Obviously jettisoning a 16 works completely different, so half those panels are not, and so realistically I don't think you gain much out of it over what you'd have got off your regular screen. Phoenix Bondi, who did this, he made the launch bar Cat 1, Cat 2, which is probably a good idea. Here we are, look, we're nice and slow now. So I'll put the gear down and you'll see the light goes on as it transits. So it does work, you know, some things reflect, but that's about it. And the fact that someone else had to go and blooming do it is kind of annoying. All right, but the rest of that all works now. So that's me covering the PTO. Do I think it's worthwhile? Yeah, probably worthwhile if you're flying a F18 all the time, flat panel. It might be. It's actually kind of cool. Makes it easier to selective jettison and stuff like that. You know, is it an extravagance? Yeah, most definitely. You know, I mean, $200, really. You know, but you know, if you fly the F18 a lot, I would say, then yeah, it's not actually a bad idea. All right. So with regards to the F16, right, the UFC, as you've seen, I've already flipped this over. It rests, as you saw, on the 2 pads there, resting on the 18-bit panel. Now, with regards to how it works, you should be able to see in the background, but I'll bring the screen down just a little bit. There we go, so you can see obviously you don't need it like that once you've got the thing there. But the symbology, yeah, works for your HUD. Yeah, everything is nice. So what do I like on this? Actually, I kind of like all of these buttons. Yeah, they're not aircraft grade, but they're pretty good. Yeah, I mean, they're not bad at all. These switches here are good. The knobs down the side feel pretty good, so I kind of like those. There is one letdown. This switch here is atrocious, really. I mean, it is pretty poor, to say the least. It feels like a cheap piece of plastic that's been input into the system, and I don't know why they couldn't find something metal. So really, I would hope that they'll come up with something better for that. I mean, it works, everything does work there, that switch works fine, but it just feels really cheap for 200 bucks. I swear they should be able to find a better piece of a better switch than that. I know that is what it looks like in there, but honestly, I'd have rather they just use a metal four-way, you know, like we have on some of the other switches, instead of that. You know, it would have been a lot more forgivable. I would take not seeing it as a square thing, you know. It's just a shame. Yeah. Now all the rest of it works right. Integration wise, for the F16 it's real easy. I mean, someone had already put up a profile. You know, again, I hit WinWing, that WinWing, when you produce stuff, all of these things, you should have someone just programming one of these with a stock plan. I don't care that everybody might change something. If you have a stock to load it in, it's easy to then go and change something. All right. So it's a great shame that it doesn't all work, you know. I mean, really, everything here, if you look at this, is all stuck like it was on the 18. Yeah, my gear is knocked down. It would be really nice if it would reflect, you know, the F16 as well in the PTO2. So as I mentioned, I think the PTO2 is a bit of an extravagance unless you want it in an 18. Where it could be nice, or it is nice in the 18. You know, this, if you're a 16 driver, that's pretty nice. I mean, if you make the 3 panels, I don't never bother with the lower one on an F16. What a waste of time that is, you know. But these, you know, this cross thing here would be pretty darn good, and then you could set these lower. Mine are set to the F18 height, yeah, or as close to it as I could get with my rig, as you've seen in the earlier video. So, you know, while it works, I mean, it works at 16, you know, you can see more over the top if you lower these down, and you can bring this up, and then you'll have a slightly nicer representation on the screen. So overall, yeah, it works. This one switch is very disappointing. Everything else, yeah, it's fine. You know, not bad at all. Do you need it? No. You know, but as what my hopes are is that in the future we'll get a VR where I can designate this area, you know, as being passed through all the time, and yet look around and be in the cockpit all the time, but actually have physical buttons to press all these things, which is significantly nicer than using my mouse that I do when I'm in VR. So there you go. Yeah, it's $200. I pay for all my own gear. I think the PTO was $200 too as well, to be quite honest. I think if I was only paying $200, I would probably buy this and not bother with the PTO2, because it duplicates a lot of stuff that's already on the throttle quadrant. Anyway, I hope you find that useful. And if you've got any questions, just put them in the comments, and I'll try and get to you when I'm busy. It's a little trick, but I normally get back to people who do comments and ask questions, you know, as quickly as I can. All right.